Hello, hello. Good morning, everyone. It's Amanda Testa here with Find Your Feminine Fire, and I am so excited because today I'm going to interview the beautiful Handan. And we actually met, Handan and I met through our coaching program with that SLRC, which is the Sex, Love, and Relationship program we've been doing this past year with the Tantric Institute of Integrated Sexuality. And I love what she's up to, and we're going to be talking about accessing your power. And she actually has a long career, and she has been a transformational coach and a face yoga teacher and a hypnotherapist, and she is the founder of Awaken the Amazon. But basically what she does is she does personal coaching with women to help them really bring their true essence and their power to light. So I would love it if you would take a moment just to talk a little bit more about what led you to this work and kind of a little bit more about your story. And welcome.
Oh, thank you, Amanda. So nice to see you. So nice to see you again. So now I have been a coach for a pretty long time. I've always been also like the leader of organizations or the director or a board member of organizations. And I did that for a long time. And but last year I decided to do it a little bit differently. Also external reasons, but also internal reasons. I really wanted to do something more with all the people that I know, with all the gifts that we have, that you have, that I have, and I really wanted to change that. So that's why I started with the SLRC. That's why I started with the facial yoga, and that's why I started with Awaken the Amazon now. So and I think what for me is the most important thing about that is that I really would like to bring people, mostly women, but I coach men now also, but mostly women, to bring them more into their real authentic power, because I think we're really powerful as women.
Yes, that's so true. And I love how, you had that big background in corporate and then, just kind of finding more your calling to really help women transform.
Mm-hmm. I've always did like things with transforming women. I wrote like whole education pieces for schools and for girls who were in schools, but I always did it at the side. Like it was like something that I wanted to do, but I couldn't do because I was in my work. Mm-hmm. And now I've changed that. And that is like a very free and good feeling.
Yeah. Well, and I love how you were talking about, and I would love to just with regards to Awaken the Amazon and like kind of connecting to that inner warrior within you. I love how when your research, you kind of found, like, you live in the Netherlands, but you found, you're originally from Turkey, and that you found this one Amazon queen was actually from the town where your family was from. Is that kind of what led you to follow this more?
Because every time when somebody said Amazons, I really felt compelled to them, and I really felt something like these are powerful women, and I like the fact that women are powerful, and I like the fact that women being mothers or being soft doesn't mean that we're not powerful. So every time when I heard that word, I was like, that's like really, there's something in that. And then I started investigating, and then I found out that Amazons are from Greece, Turkey, and parts of Russia. And they really existed. They were women on horses most of the time, and they found pieces of them back, and you can really see that they were with arrows and bows and just really warrior women. And there was this one woman, she's called Hip, like from the horse, Hip, and she's the one who founded the town Smyrna. It's now Izmir. And my parents come from there. So and then I knew, because then, maybe also nice to tell, Amazon women become the nomad people of Turkey and Greece and Russia. And I am the descendant of nomad people of Turkey. So I was like, this is it. That's how it felt.
I love it, Handan. So now I'd love if you would put into your own words. I know a lot of people, when we talk about finding your power or tapping into your power, they're like, what does that even mean? So I would love if you would tell me, what that means to you.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's a very good question. For me, I think that a lot of women kind of like diminish their power, make themselves smaller, or think like, oh, I have to be modest, or oh, I can't do this, or I'd be too much, and I want all that gone. I want you to shine, basically, and be the brightest light that you could be. And even though women have been punished for that, haunted for that, physically abused for all kinds of crazy things, I really want us to rise above that and be strong. And that's what finding that power is for me. And every time when I coach women, I try to bring them there, into that really sacred power that you have inside. Nobody can dim your light. Nobody.
I think that's so beautiful. No one can dim your light. I love that. And I think it is true, a lot of times in this modern age, we live in a pretty safe society where, we are able to be ourselves for the most part, but I think we might not realize that there is kind of a little bit of, maybe it's ancestral fear from, in the past where it was not safe for women to be powerful or to be, outspoken. And that still can be something that you have inside of you, you don't realize.
And also the fact, like, for example, Amazons, they were considered to be like not real, have never existed. And now they found real evidence that these women existed. They were like cavalries of 30,000 of women who would go all the way up to like the Middle Eastern countries and, fight against men. If Greek warriors wanted to be a real warrior, they had to fight an Amazon woman, just to show them how powerful they could be and who would win, and that is the power of a woman. It's not, we were not always, we don't have enough role models, I think. And that's what I also want to say. Sexuality is a big part of that also.
Yes.
That our sexuality is so strong and so beautiful that, I mean, it would be a shame to dim that light also.
Yes. Do you feel like you've always had kind of a good connection with your sexuality, or how has that journey been for you?
The funny thing is I was brought up Islamic, and I would not say I'm not Islamic, but I do believe in something like the universe or some kind of thing. I don't know how to say that, but not in the way that I was brought up. But in Islam, you have like this one thing, which was always very nice for me to hear, is that in Islam, you can be very sexual, but you can only be that with your husband or the man that you're with. And for the rest, you can be as sexual as you want. So I never felt like I was shut down from my sexuality, and also not from my parents, or it was just very contained to only that part. Mm-hmm. But I mean, there is enough space for me, there was enough space to really run around in that part. So, I mean, just to explore in that part, I have to say. So I never felt like bad about that part. And so I've had in a funny way, I still have a very kind of free kind of sexuality but how do you say it? Now I say this and I think that everybody's going to hear this. So I feel like, and that's the one thing, I'm never very open about it. So now when I'm a little bit more open about it, I get a bit of a, how do you say that? My
like
blood.
Yes.
Yeah.
Well, and I love that you mentioned that because it is true. It's not always easy to talk about. And that's one of the reasons why I wanted to put this interview series together is because, to have these conversations around sexuality and to make it more commonplace kind of will help to relieve some of that fear or shame around these conversations because it is just not something that our culture really shines light on very often. Most
Exactly.
of the time, these are
No,
conversations you have behind closed doors or
exactly. But and the thing is also that with what I see with most women now is they can't talk about it, but also that they shut down when they're with somebody or when they're on their own. They're afraid to show it, and I think that's the thing that was a little bit surprising for me. I grew up with belly dancing. I grew up with a lot of women around me, and also like for me it wasn't. I mean, I've seen my grandmother naked. It was just normal to be like in a hammam where you saw all these women naked. It was just really normal. And I see with a lot of Western European women, even that is a bit strange. To see even other women naked is also like a crazy thing. And for me, that was really normal. So I never saw like the perfect bodies. I saw all kinds of bodies. You know, and I think that's so freeing to see so much beauty. And like, for example, if you belly dance, it doesn't matter if you have, you have to have a belly. If you're built like really small or really tiny, it's really hard to belly dance. You really need a nice belly, good hips, and big breasts. You need that. But if you have small breasts, it's okay too. But there's no shame in any body type that you are.
Well, I think that's so powerful because, like you said, I grew up in America, in Southeast Georgia, which is pretty conservative. And I might have seen my mom naked, probably taking a bath here and there, but it wasn't, people are pretty modest and cover up a lot. So I am imagining like growing up with that, do you feel like as you grew up, did you have as many body image issues, or did it seem to be just kind of more, you just accepting of everyone's bodies and your own body?
It was just very accepting. I never had like people saying like, oh, you're too fat, you're too thin, or, if they would say something to me, it would be like, oh, you're a little bit too thin, you should eat more meat kind of thing. But for the rest, it was all good. And all the women who were like, yeah, like I call them like sort of like big mamas who would go dance. We would dance in the hammam. You would be all naked and still dance, but because it was the time to dance, or you felt like dancing, or and if one person started, everybody started. If you were with all women and you were having tea or whatever, there would always be somebody who would start dancing. And so the whole body issue thing was never even discussed. I've seen it now, like be thin, be this, be that. There's so many beautiful women, and being thin doesn't make you beautiful. Being having big breasts or a big booty doesn't make you beautiful also. It's just all beautiful. I don't know how to say that. It's just all beautiful. Yeah.
I think that's such a gift that you were able to be raised in that kind of environment, and I would love for you to share, I know in your workshops, you do a lot of movement and dance as well. And I know, at least from my personal experience, and maybe you can speak to this, is until I had an opportunity, like really later in life, to do more. My parents danced, but they did like couple dancing, but there was a lot of like strong groups of women getting together and moving their bodies and feeling good just in being a woman. And so, what have you found? When you teach this, I'm sure it's just transformational for the women to kind of enjoy that experience.
What I was always what always surprised me is because when you dance and you dance from a young age, you just learn how to move your body all the time. You know, there's music on, you think like, oh, I need to dance. That's how I always feel. When I hear music, I always think like, oh, there's time for dancing now. And when I was because we would always go to Turkey and then go back to the Netherlands, and in the Netherlands, you didn't have that. So I even was like at a wedding one time and people were not dancing. So I went up to the band. So I said, could you give me a little bit of belly dance music? And they were like, what do you mean? Just give me a little bit like Eastern kind of music. I got the whole wedding, all the people to belly dance with me. But because it's the movement in the hips, and the hips, as you know, is like your first chakra, your second chakra. You loosen that up a little bit. And you get that energies that are there, you get it more flowing all the way up. So the movement of the hips is so important. And then from the hips, you go, you know, you can go to the middle part, you can go to the shoulders, you can go to the head. You know, there's so many things that you can do to loosen up all those energies that are in your body. So I really love that.
No, I love that too, because it's so important. And you know, when we're talking about connecting to our power and really finding that within us, a lot of it is through using our bodies. And I've talked about this before, and you know, just the power that, like you said, like when you move your hips and kind of can release and open up that energy flow, it is really a powerful experience.
Mm-hmm. It is a powerful experience. And also, I mean, we need to do this daily, almost weekly, you know, to move those hips is something really important to really, and especially I think as women, to find that feminine, you know, that power, which you also talk about, is also like in the dance movement, in the hip movement. And I start my workshops with dancing. So a little bit of dancing, a little bit of hip movement to really open up those places. And then from there on, you can go further, yoga movements, hip openers, and really trying to release a lot of energy and tension that we have there. Because nowadays we sit on chairs all the time. We don't move. And it's so, and that energy, I think, gets stuck. So if that energy gets stuck, the other energies get stuck, and then for the rest, we get stuck also. Then we get stuck in our heads. We don't use the body anymore, you know. And the body has, as you know, also so much power. And if you talk about sexuality, you can use that, all those nice hip movements.
Yes.
Yeah.
So I would love if you would share, you know, what are some of your favorite tools that you have learned that have helped you feel really connected to your power? I know you mentioned dance is one. Is there anything else that you really could share?
What I like very much, what we've learned is like, I like to really drop into the body with the felt sense, you know, like to really feel that there are parts in your body that give you messages. And normally you would say like, oh, that's something small, and you would never think about it. But if you zoom into that and you make it bigger, then it has a lot of, how do you say it? A lot of knowledge that normally you wouldn't even think about even addressing. And now you feel that power, and you also feel the power of your body instead of your mind. I think we're in our minds, we are also very powerful, but the body is more powerful. And also, and I'm a hypnotherapist also, our unconscious mind is so powerful. And I think with moving into the body, that's basically where you go into that unconscious mind, to change that unconscious mind. And when you get there, you can make like the unconscious more conscious. Then you have like the most powerful source that you could ever tap into. And if you want to change things, if you want to change sexuality, if you want to change the way how do you say, you want to change your career path, these are the tools that you use. This is how you create miracles, I think.
Yes. That's so, I love that. So Handan, let me ask you this. When you are talking about the felt sense, I know what that means, but just that people watching might not know what that means. So when we're talking about the felt sense, basically that's when you tune into your body and you're aware of the sensations in your body. So, for example, you are maybe just quiet yourself and just feel any sensations that come up, and those have messages for you. So that's what we're talking about when we talk about the felt sense.
Exactly. And those messages, people don't feel them, see them, hear them, because you're busy in your head. You're busy with all kinds of things. And when you drop into that body and you say like, hey, there's something here, what would that be? And then, you can get to places where you've never, ever, you would never even think of that would have a message for you.
Yeah. And I like how you say it makes the subconscious conscious, because that's an interesting perspective to think of, because, a lot of times when we give something the opportunity to arise, then we can use all our tools to integrate that or to deal with the issue that comes up, but allowing it to surface. And then you've got all kinds of ways you can work with it.
But if the subconscious becomes conscious, so if 80% of your of all the things you do is unconscious, or it's basically under the water, as I sometimes say. So that means if you get access to that, then you can really start changing things. And I think that is the most important thing, and that is where most of our power lies. And making that connection. So I like to do that. And I use hypnosis also. I take a little bit of hypnosis sometimes to use that also with people. And and you can use sexuality, you can use hypnosis, there's so many tools that we have that we can use to get there.
Right.
Yeah.
And so let me ask you this, with hypnosis, do you have any kind of tool that you could share that you have found to be really valuable in working with hypnosis around having people connect to their power, or is it really just helping them to get into that subconscious?
You help them to get into that subconscious, to get to places where they were not used to go, where they never used to go to. So it is a bit of a, some people can go to get there with like a feeling or a felt sense. They go into the place and they go into their, I think, subconscious. And then, but with some people it doesn't work. They have done all kinds of things already. So then I think, okay, then I'll use the tool hypnosis, and then I get them in a light hypnosis. It's a light hypnosis, because if I wouldn't say anything, you would be out of the hypnosis in like 2 minutes. Now I talk you into that. I talk with you, and then I get you to places. Like for example, if you have like a goal, like to you would like to have more self-esteem, for example, then we go to the places where your self-esteem has been damaged. Or that was also very funny. I had this man who his goal was to be attractive to all women. He said, that's basically what I want, he said. That's my desire, to be attractive to all women. And I found it a really funny, and it made me laugh, his desire, but I still went with him to the place where that desire came from. And that was a complete different story, of course. And then when you try, then you change that. Like you change that history, basically. You don't change the history, but because you think things with the mind of a child. So when you were 7 years old, your mother said this or your father said that, and you made an agreement with yourself in your subconscious that this is never going to happen to me, or that is never going to happen to me. And with hypnosis, you can change that.
Yeah.
I don't know if I explained it right, but this is what
Well, it's interesting because I experience with hypnosis is when I had my daughter, I did this program called Hypno Babies, where you basically, it's kind of a self hypnosis. You listen to her voice, but you eventually kind of learn how to get into that state. And it was really so amazing to me how when you could go to that space, you really had so much more of a control of kind of where your sensations went. So for this one, it was kind of like to avoid the sensations of pain and focus on something else.
Exactly.
But I see how you could just use it for so many different ways, because you are kind of just getting to a different level of your consciousness where, powerful things can happen. I don't know quite why, but
but also, I mean, you make like this idea with your head. You say basically, if your mother had said something or your father said something and you, or they were angry with you or something, then you decide not to do or not to be in that place anymore at that time. So what happens is that you, from that moment on, every time when something like that occurs, your brain says, we're not going to go there because we made that decision. And the brain wants to, your natural thing is to make sure that you're happy. Your brain wants you to be happy and not sad. So everything what's sad, it moves you away from that. Or you have made a connection with sadness, saying that makes you happy. That happens also. You can, there are so many things that people do, and what people have said to themselves, what has made like all kinds of crazy ways of thinking. And what you do, I think, with hypnosis, with the work we do, you get people again in their feelings, in their right minds, in what they really truly wanted, things like that. Yeah, I can be really passionate about this. I can talk for ages about this. Yeah. And you know it. Yeah.
Well, it's true, and it's getting in, listening to what your body has to say and listening to what those inner voices are, so you can help them to support you, give them roles that are supportive versus, taking you away from what you want, and just taking that time to listen.
Because with your mind now, that, for example, too much eating is bad for me, or eating crap is bad for me. You know that. But if you have linked something like in your mind saying like, oh, it is crap, but I still feel better when I do that, to change that, it takes some time, but you really have to change that. That, I don't know how do you say that, but you said like bad food is bad for me. I know that, but I still feel good. You need to take that connection, that feel good connection out of there, because you know that now with your mind. And when you take that in your unconscious mind away, then you won't eat the bad food.
Yeah. Then you'll have the connection with what's good. And it's aligned with what actually is good.
Aligned. That's the congruent, aligned. Those are the words. Yes. With what you want now. I mean, when you were, 15, you would fall for blonde guys with pimples. You don't do that now, because now it's aligned. But if you would say to yourself, that's the only guy that I ever will love, you will always get back to small guys with pimples, I don't know how to say that, but that's basically, that's what you have to change. And if it's food, if it's men, it could be anything. It could be money. It could be all kinds of things.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
No.
Well, I want to ask you one more question just about the Amazon woman that you studied, because I find that so fascinating. Was there one particular woman, like when you were doing your research, that kind of stood out to you? Or
there's this one, and now I forgot her name, of course, but I have it here. Wait. There's this one who brought like the 30,000, her name is Myrene, and she brought those 30,000 women on horses to conquer what now is Syria completely, and 30,000 women on horses, just and all warrior women, and it's not even true about I mean, I think the Greek people, or somebody somewhere in history said like the women would cut off their breasts and everything. Not true. They just had normal breasts and they were just fighting, but on the horses. And the whole idea of 30,000 women going to battle, not that I like battle that much, but the fact that they were there and they were so powerful that you could have 30,000 women. I mean, if you would ask now to women, 30,000 women on horses going to battle, I mean, nobody would. I mean, women are, if there's war, women are said to be, you can't fight. But that's all not true. We are as powerful, or maybe even more powerful. But so that woman, Myrene, that really stood out for me. That's when I thought that must have been like an enormous, great culture, the Amazon culture, that we never almost hear about.
Right.
So that's what I like. The women on the horses with the bow and the arrow, and yeah.
Well, there is huge power. She had the knowing, the huge power of being able to motivate all those women and get them together.
Yeah. But
even power when we support each other.
Exactly. You support each other, and it's normal to be that powerful. But also, like the woman that made Izmir, Smyrna at that time, or before Ephes. Ephes is like a huge city, which is always considered like a Greek city and the Roman city. But that city was also founded by an Amazon queen. Nobody talks about that. Nobody. Which I've been to all those places. And those were like, I mean, you have like a library in there, huge libraries, and those were connected to the Mediterranean Sea. Nobody talks about it, that it was founded by a woman. Nobody. That's crazy. And those kind of things, I think there's a lot to change in history also still, but to make history again in a way that women get the place that they deserve also in history.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I want to ask you one last question, because I love always asking people kind of what their vision would be. So, Handan, what would your vision be for women out there today? What would be your vision?
Yeah, that's a good question, because there's so many things I would want. I would like women to be physically as free as they can, that we're not afraid to be slutty, or the whole word slut is like strange, why women are slutty and men are players. I never got that. So I don't, women should be physically free. They should feel so free when they are walking on the streets, that they would never, even in nighttime, that the whole thing of women being attacked and things like that, I think you can really change that by making women more free, so men can also be more free. That financial freedom, women in all kinds of positions, that women are heard, basically. Not hurt, but heard. Yes, I hope I say that right in the English language. Yes. But I think that's very, very important. So that would be my vision, and I would like to start that really small and empower women all the time, because what I see with the women I coach, and also I do also facial yoga, that also, women call me for tiny things, I think sometimes, but they need sometimes reassurance, and they ask me things like, hey, can I do that? And I always say, of course you can do that. Why would you not? And then they say, oh, I just wanted to hear it from you. And in the beginning, I was a little bit like, why would they want to know that? But then on the other hand, I thought like, we've been told so many times that we can't do things. We're not able to. You know, so I want the other side. I want that to be much stronger.
Right. Giving the women permission. You have permission to be
Yes.
strong and free.
Yes, and that they give permission to themselves, because I think that's much more important than than they call me. You know, I want to learn. I want them to learn that there's a place in their body where they can go to, and that they can always feel good, always feel protected. You know, and that they can be strong. So nobody. But that's what we said. Nobody can dim your light. Nobody.
Beautiful. And Handan, where can people find you?
I have the URL awakentheamazon.com. I haven't put everything on there yet, so be very, so I'm very, I tried it. I haven't done it yet completely. So they can just find me now on Facebook. Awaken the Amazon is almost ready. And I've got faceyoga.pro also. So that's all about face yoga, but for me, that's also like the same kind of thing. It's like also bringing yourself back into your power, like yoga is also for me. So all those things together make one thing. I'm in the Netherlands for people, so they know also.
Yes. And I love the face yoga, and I definitely would love to talk more about that at some point too, because I find that just so interesting. And in seeing your pictures too, you know, like, obviously it makes sense. You know, your body is your body, all the parts of your body, right? You have muscles in your face and the muscles in your body and the muscles in your pelvis, and, you know, and all these areas that we don't always necessarily activate in our regular workouts.
And also you store a lot of energy also in your face. Like, you know, you store a lot of energy in pussy, vagina, you do that also. We store a lot of energy there also. And it gets stuck, basically. But the same thing happens with your face. You have the same kind of things with your face. If you release tension in your face, it releases tension also in your body.
Yeah.
So that's why I like face yoga so very much, and using acupressure points. But also, I mean, you can make like the cheekbones higher. You can make your lips bigger. There's so much possibilities that it has. And you saw my pictures, my before and after pictures. Even I was shocked, you know. Even I was thinking like, this is not true, but it is.
Is there one specific exercise with face yoga that is really good at releasing tension? Or I'm sure they all are important, but is there one specific one that is maybe your favorite?
Want me to show you one?
Would you be open to doing that?
Yes, of course. That's like really funny. What the one that I teach is, and I've got it from my teacher. She's a Japanese lady in the United States, and this one I always like very much. But I do it a little bit different, but because a lot of people have a lot of make wrinkles in their forehead because we use our forehead so much, and the forehead is like a huge muscle. It goes all the way to the back of your head. So the frontalis muscle is really big. So you don't want to use this very much because it gets all tensed up and the wrinkles come into your in your forehead. So what I do is first I put my exactly. So I put my my hand like this. Then I put my mouth in an O shape. So your upper lip and down lip is over your teeth, like this. And then you make an O, like a long O, and you look up. And you do that for 10 seconds. And release. This stretches all the muscles of your face. It stretches from here to here because you have like two big muscles here. Stretches this. If you have those laugh lines, they get stretched, but it stretches also underneath your eyes. And this is an easy one, but you can do this when you're driving, when you're at a stoplight, not when you're driving, but when you're at a stoplight. You can do this in the elevator. You can do it basically everywhere, and that will stretch your face. It's like, this is like the real yoga pose for your face.
Thank you. That felt good, actually. My face it does feel more relaxed, because I know I hold a lot of tension in my jaw and my face. And so yes. That's just a fun little side note. Thank you for following that tangent with me. But I think it is true, like we talked about, our power lies in our body, and connecting to that is the key. And I just appreciate you so much, Handan. It's so lovely to have you here. And thank you for sharing your knowledge.
Thank you for asking. It's really nice. I love what you do. You do good work. You know that.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Well, yes, and again, I will post. You can find Handan on Facebook, and I will add her website, Awaken Amazon, which will be coming soon. And yes, and please, if you have questions, thank you so much for watching. If you have questions, feel free to ask. If we can't, we will get to them as soon as we can. And and feel free to share with other women who you think could benefit from this, because what we really want to do is just open these conversations and have it be part of the everyday conversation, sexuality, and how to connect to your power, just being powerful women. So thank you so much for being here, and we will see you soon.